I reckon he just hasn't met Clover Moore yet. But once he does, he can add her to the list. But it was interesting that the countries he did praise were Hungary, who's paying €1 million a day to keep their borders shut, and Poland, who've also done a pretty good job at managing immigration. But tough words there for the Europeans.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said that European leaders are weak, partly because they were enamoured with political correctness, and it's pretty hard to argue. I mean, Europe is far more concerned with feelings and facts and with seeming rather than doing. And as you mentioned, immigration, where he raises the concern, and this becomes not just an ideological thing, but it becomes a matter of security, that NATO countries will be predominantly non-European if they continue the way they are going by, the end of 2040, 2050, and that then becomes an issue for the United States. Do they still have things in common with their allies? I guess Mark Stein was the one who posed this question years ago. He asked, can Europe still be Europe, but with different people? And I think the answer is plainly no. And then the question becomes, do we care?
Well, we should care. Do a lot of people care? Maybe not, but that is turning, that tide is turning. I mean, you look across Europe, it is because of what has happened with migration largely, and also crime issues, that the Farages, Nigel Farages of the world, that the Geert Wilders of the world, that the AfD party in Germany has been rising, because people can now see plainly in front of them, even though it may be a little bit late, what has been perpetrated upon their countries. And of course, no one these days, putting aside colonial past, no one these days would go into Africa or India or China and say, well, we need a few more white people in this joint, would you? I mean, we just wouldn't dream of doing it. But it is expected that it happens across the rest of the Western world. You can have all your debates about values and whatever, and of course people who contribute to a country, fantastic. But if you fundamentally change the face of a country, it does become a different place. That's the reality.
So do you think the race matters then of people, or do you think that after multiple generations, people can assimilate, and then it doesn't matter if people are of mixed heritage or pure European heritage?
Yeah, they can. I mean, look at Gurmesh Singh, who is now the leader of the Nationals in New South Wales, right? Who has obviously an Indian name and looks like an Indian man, but he hates the idea that people call him an Indian Australian. He says, I'm not Indian, I am Australian. And so, yes, it is true that he will always carry that as a racial thing. But the problem is, if you do it in such a way that it is controlled and you bring in people who are of like mind, it can work. But when you see what has happened in Europe and what has happened in the US, and to some degree has happened in Australia, where you just bring floods of people in from other countries who have no idea about what your standards and your culture and whatever is, and just let them go, OK, you're here now, go. I mean, as if problems do not occur.